Welcome back to the Turn by Turn podcast. I'm Chris, flying solo today, except not completely solo because I am joined here by, remind me of your name one more time.
It's Guld.
Guld, yes, who is developing a fantastic game called The Last Chronomancer. So let's go ahead and just start with that. Do you want to tell me some about yourself?
Well, hey, Chris. First off, how are you doing? Having a good night?
I'm having a great night.
Excellent. I don't know if this is going to be replayed during the evening, but we'll assume it's night anyways. But anyway, as far as myself, I'm a solo indie developer. I've been working on my game for I guess a few years now, and I guess I'm pretty relatively new to the whole game development thing. I've three years in, I guess, and this is my first and maybe only endeavor into it.
Mm. Why is that? Just very demanding?
It's time consuming for sure, yeah. And this is my I guess my first game, so it's been about a good year of learning, and then a good few years of just putting it all together, and it's been a long stretch for sure.
Mm-hmm. You're not super eager once the day you turn it in, you're not going to turn around and do Chronomancer 2.
Oh man, I've thought about obviously with the Last Chronomancer by itself, I have thought about splitting it into two, just maybe to get it out there and get it a bit more, I guess, accessible, and say, hey, look, here's the first half, here's the second half. But I don't know. I have to go and see how that plays out. See if there would be an interest in that. But maybe we'll put it this way: at the worst, there'll be a two-parter. I really can't see myself doing a prequel or spin-off or anything like that. If I guess when the day finally comes and I get the whole thing done, I'd probably like to switch gears and not do anything fantasy related for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder if you're going to be like Miyazaki, the guy that makes all those Studio Ghibli movies, that while he's making something, he is this bitter husk of a person that's like, everyone leave me alone, I hate everything. And then when he finally finishes it, he's like, all right, that's it, never again, I'm retiring. And then he's gone for like a year, and they start making another movie, and he goes, none of you are going to do it right, I have to come back. And then he does the entire process over again.
I mean, I think they actually said that once. I think it actually might have been in relation to fighting or something, or some other contact sport, I think. But they said you have to really, really love and be passionate about something to do it well, because by the end of it, it will drive you to the brink of hatred. And I think, and they're like, and if you don't have that love in it to begin with, you'll never make it to the end. And I was like, it's not a bad philosophy, actually. I think, excuse me, I think with mine, yeah, I definitely love the story I'm trying to tell. I love the game that I'm trying to make. But if I didn't, I think I would have been done after like 2 weeks, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
there's only. What is that game about?
Okay, so The Last Chronomancer, it's like an indie retro JRPG style game. It's turn-based. Basically, it's about the story of a chronomancer who has witnessed the end of time, and she's going back in time to kind of help guide the 6 heroes that she saw at the end of the world, and she's basically trying to get them prepped and ready and work together to fight this big eventful moment. And yeah, it's a turn-based combat game, lots of exploration, giant world to explore. It's got multiple story paths depending on which hero you choose, multiple endings. I'm probably even going to have it do a new game plus feature, so if you do want to replay it and check out all the stuff you might have missed, you won't have to play the whole thing over. But yeah, no, it's basically I'd say a standard trope-filled RPG, well, JRPG game, but then I definitely add some twists and turns. So you make some friends, but it's a bit more mature and a bit more, I guess, convoluted than the standard.
That all sounds really good, though, especially that new game plus mode.
Yeah, I find especially if you're asking a player to kind of dump in hours worth of effort into playing your game, if you are providing content that they'd have to see if they only went through an additional time. I'm like, just give them a new game plus. That was kind of what Chronotrigger did, and it was one of the smartest things I think that they did do. Is that you can kind of go back in and hey, I played through as the soldier, and I saw the soldier's path, and I saw all the different content that had to do with the soldier. But you know what? I'd really like to find out. There's some stuff where the rogue went off and did all these other things. You know what? But I didn't really see what they did off camera. Like I'd like to go follow their path and see what's going on there. And if you do New Game Plus, then in addition to just going through and doing it all over again, you retain like the level and the weapons and everything else. So you can kind of just easy mode almost your way through it the second time, and it gets easier and easier and faster each time. So
That sounds great.
yeah.
I love stuff like that. What would you compare the combat to for podcast people that can't see anything?
Well, podcast people, let me paint you a picture. No, I'd say it's probably a combination between Final Fantasy VI, which is kind of my big influence. But I took the row system that they had, which was kind of garbage, and then I mixed it with kind of the Suikoden 2 style row system. Well, I guess Suikoden in general, but basically like the Suikoden 2 row system where you had kind of weapon ranges, and so you got different spells and different attacks and different weapons, but the range then determines where you are in each row, and sometimes you have to swap a different row to dodge different attacks, and there's an elemental system. And yeah, I'd say if you're familiar with I guess the old retro Final Fantasies and the old Suikoden battle system, then you should be able to figure it out.
All right, that sounds pretty good. You kind of said what games inspired that. Is there anything really unique about Chronomancer that you really want to highlight, other than the things you already have? I mean, this sounds great so far.
No, fair enough. I think unique. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything that's like 100% unique. I mean, the story is unique. I think I've come up with a really good original story with original characters, but
the characters stand out to me a little bit because it looks like we've got kind of like a paladin type, and then there's an orc, and then there's a samurai.
Yeah, there's definitely some diverse casting characters going on there. I did want to kind of retain that sense of you can pick the character and class that you want and kind of focus on them and make them kind of the better and stronger characters in your team. So yeah, there's definitely that. But I guess the problem is with saying unique is I think you can always break down where your influences are, even minor things which may not even immediately come to your mind. Like even when I was kind of creating the light crystal in the opening throne room there, I thought back on it and I was like, you know what, the chains and the steel kind of holding it in place. I'm like, I never thought about it at the time, but I'm like, I probably was influenced to do that by the Dark Crystal, the old Jim Henson film or whatever. So then I was like, it wasn't a conscious influence. Like I wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, Dark Crystal, I got this. But yeah, it was definitely. I think, to be honest, it probably was one of the inspirations for it. And so yeah, but yeah, like I said, I mean, it's all original story, all original cast and characters. The combat system, I think the combination of the combat system is unique. I think what I've been able to do with the game engine and the tile sets, I think, is pretty unique as far as a visual style. A lot of the art I've drawn myself, so I'd like to say that's pretty original. But
yeah, something else that sticks out to me is that your itch page says multiple playable characters, 8+ in the demo. That's a lot.
Yeah, and it only gets bigger after the demo. But yeah, no. So obviously you have your 6 main characters. I mean, you play as different characters throughout different stages, like the intro and flashbacks and everything else. But yeah, so the 6 main heroes for the most part stay together, and then in addition to that, there's other recruits that come along the way. Like you mentioned, there's an orc and a samurai. The samurai I don't think is even in the demo, to be honest. But yeah, and I think as of right now, I'm working my way on chapter 1's out there. It's about 4.5 hours long, but I'm currently in the middle of chapter 4. And by that point, you've got at least a dozen. And again, I think that I was again influenced by either Suikoden or Final Fantasy VI, where you could have 12 or 14 playable characters and different classes, and it was kind of up to you to choose the combination that you wanted. I mean, with Suikoden, you had 108. I mean, of the 108, I think you had maybe usually around 30, 40, I think, that you could actually play as a.
Hmm.
But even then, it was a huge number. But I don't know. It's kind of the appeal. With that being said, I'm not going down the Suikoden road because I did want to have each of the playable characters kind of be meaningful and have backstories and not just be like hey, you've got a town, yeah, sure, I'll show up. I'm like, it feels kind of hollow.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to miss characters?
I Yes, I think not within, I guess, the first half of the game, but in the second half, yeah. Which again, I think will lend itself to the New Game Plus feature, because you could be like, "What do you mean you had this character? I never picked up that character. How did you do it?" Because to be honest, I always found that pretty fun when I was a kid. When
Oh,
you'd
me
be,
too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, I would rent the game from like, or pick it up from a friend or rent it or whatever, and I'd be like, "How did they have this character?" I'm like, I thought they died. And then you'd be
Yeah.
sitting. I mean, if you go back far enough, there was no Google search. There was nothing online to go look at it. You had to just sit there and scratch your head and hope that you could maybe buy a gaming magazine, maybe, or just try and find one in a grocery store or something. Just maybe it would explain what you needed. But it was kind of cool having those little kind of hidden secrets that were, yeah, it just felt really cool to have those kind of options.
Oh yeah. Danielle and I both talk about Shining Force as a big inspiration for us, and in that one, there's a ninja character that you can only get by. It's right at the end of the game. There's a bush with a flower on it, and specifically the one with the flower on it. That sprite art is used only that one time. So if you're really observant, you can notice that, and if you search it, a ninja pops out and joins you. But we like played this game a ton as kids, and I think both of us didn't figure that out until we were adults and like read it somewhere that I just saw on a list of all the characters. They had a ninja listed, and I was like, what? He's not in that.
Like, I've played this 30, 40 times. I've never seen a ninja. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's yeah, actually I was thinking back to Final Fantasy VI. There's a character that you can end up losing halfway through the game. But then you see other people playing as that ninja, and you're like, "What? How did this happen?" So maybe it's a ninja thing. Maybe I've got, if I want to keep it authentic, maybe I've got to do something with my ninja characters and make them optional for sure.
I see. So you said you were in the middle of part 4. How many chapters will there be?
Oh man, put the grind on there. I'm not sure. If I had to guess, I would say. But honestly, that's a really rough guess. Right now, I'm just basically focusing on kind of getting each additional chapter at this point done and polished. It's just so I don't kind of have to go back. Game development in general, I noticed there's a lot of go back, repolish it, go back, change it, modify this, and I think I finally, especially with the beginning of your game, is the most critical as far as developing a hook for the player, laying out the characters, doing the introductions, kind of setting the tone, like all that's really, really done within the first, hour to, wow, for me, I'd say 4.5 hours, to be honest. But after that, it's more a case of, okay, cool. We've set the tone. We've introduced the characters. We've got the story set. We've got the sub story set. Like, let's just kind of take it and go from here. So, again, as much as I want to be like, hey, look, it should take this long, because I do have the skeleton laid out of where it's supposed to end. I don't feel confident enough to be like 8 chapters for sure, no more, no question. Because I mean, the second I do that, I'm going to be like, I tried playing it. It looks like I need like another 3 chapters worth of gobbledygook. All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm. The next question on our list is, do you have an anticipated release date? And my guess is no.
Yeah, I guess the safe answer would be no.
Which is fine.
I would like to think, well, we'll see how the rest of this year goes. If things go well this year, I might be able to get to the halfway point. Well, let me phrase that. When I say the halfway point, I mean the end of, let's call it Act 2. So who knows? Well, but I'm on pace, I think, to get it done by 2023, maybe 2022. I don't know.
All right.
We'll see. Again, a lot of this is, I mean, I'm not a full-time developer. I can only really sneak this in, an hour or two every night, at least until Square Enix goes and drives up to my driveway and dumps that bucket of cash. But no, until then, until I can become a full-time developer, it's unfortunately at the mercy of what my real life schedule allows. So.
Well, I mean, my game is going to take even longer than that. So
I go with the golden standard of if I can get it done before George R.R. finishes his books for A Song of Ice and Fire, then I'll have made it.
I think you've got quite the cushion.
Yeah, but also.
So what platforms do you hope to release on when you're done?
As many as possible. Currently, it's I'm very confident I'll have it for PC, no problem. And then obviously setting up to be deployed on Steam should be no problem. I'm not 100% sure about Mac or iOS deployment. Reportedly, I can do it. I just haven't actually had a chance to put it to the test, and unfortunately, I don't know if I would be able to test the Mac side of things. So I might have to go and reach out to some volunteers for that. And then again, I don't know what the logistics of it would be, but I definitely don't have anything against putting it out on Switch or PlayStation or wherever possible. To be honest, it's mostly a case of hey, I just want to share this game with as many people as possible. I mean, I'd like to get a buck or two back in return just to kind of make up for my losses, but mostly it's just about sharing my game and sharing my story with as many people as possible. So yeah, as many platforms as possible.
Yeah, I don't think anybody makes an indie RPG for the money in the end.
If they are, they're doing it wrong. It's especially if they're going on an epic scale. My strong advice would be do not. It is not worth the for the time in versus money out. Even if you make it big and get discovered, the chances that you recoup the hours you put in, it's very unlikely that you'll break minimum wage. So
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, again, if to all the indie developers out there, if you want to make it something profitable, either make it quick and easy, and just for a buck or two, or use your games as like a portfolio material. Showcase your skills. Use that to as part of your resume. Try and get a job full time at a game development company, because I mean, hey, the yearly salary you'll be making from being a professional game developer for a studio, I mean, it's guaranteed income that way. Well, I can't say it's guaranteed. They may let you go in a day, but you know what I mean. It's if you can land one of those gigs, that's probably the smart way to do things.
But then you also trade creative freedoms and things, and
that's
at the end of the day,
true.
you can I think take some solace in knowing that when somebody says that your indie game is their favorite game, and that will happen, know who's responsible for all the decisions.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess that being an indie developer, you're right. I've never had to make a firm deadline, which is great. I've never had to come to any, I guess, artistic compromises on content or dialogue or this and that. I mean, don't be wrong. I've received an ocean of feedback from other developers and other playtesters and everything else, and I've even when it's been horribly cruel feedback, I've appreciated every little bit, to be honest. Because even amongst the most angry feedback, there's usually a tiny sliver of something useful that you can use, and even if you can just mitigate the hate the next time, I'm like, it's still very useful feedback. So
yeah.
So yeah, no, it's good. I mean, yeah, even though I don't necessarily have, I guess, as many, let's call it, coworkers or committees or bosses to report to, yeah, I have received a lot of help along the way, I guess, in that sense.
That's good. If people want to get in on that, where can people find out more about your game?
Well, I'm glad you asked. No, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Guld. That's GULD _TLC. That's where I'm posting daily updates. And if you're looking for the actual free demo, it's on the itch.io page as the Last Chronomancer. Like I said, the demo's around 4.5 hours. I'm probably going to put an updated version of the demo maybe by the end of the year. There's not too much updated or changed, but there has been a couple little tweaks and a couple more layers of polish that I've put on there since then. So
by the end of the year, do you mean 2020?
Wait, what? You mean last year?
Oh yes. I don't know when this is going to air, so I'm like, by the end of what year do you hope to put out an updated demo?
No, I was going to say end of 2020. At the end of 2021, we should have. Okay. I can probably get an updated version of the demo, but I don't think I'll be putting any more additional content in there. It'll just be more just kind of updated content, but not additional, I guess. Maybe a good way of putting it.
I see. So in that case, what is the best way for people to support you right now?
Just like the Last Chronomancer TLC, just a lot of love and care. No, best way to support me. I just again, like I said, that feedback is always valuable. If people just want to play my game, tell me what they liked, what they didn't like. When you do download the free demo, there is an option for a donation. I've never made a withdrawal from that yet, so I don't know if it's really supporting me per se, but. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple bucks sitting in there, and maybe I'll kind of pay it forward and kind of pay everybody back in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, like I said, for me, this really when the game's finally done, there will be a price tag associated with that. That would be the best way to support me and kind of I guess return the love. But up until then, just let me know how you guys like the game. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know what I've hit the mark on, what I've missed the mark on, and just be good to everybody. That's the key. Everybody just be nice to one another. That's that's how I'd be best supported.
I like that. Something I try to live by is even people that let's say have different values than my own. I really believe everybody is just out there doing their best, and that's what I'm doing. It's what you're doing. It's what we're all doing. We're all just trying to get through life the best we can, and be good to each other.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's good to be good. I think it's it's pretty easy not to be. So it's hard sometimes, but just everybody just be a bit kinder to one another, and
and if you want to be really kind to Guld, and you're really into the Mac side of things, if you're into playtesting that, maybe shoot him a message. And
I'm not making any promises. For all I know, when I go to deploy this thing on Mac, it'll just start a fire. But hey, best of luck to all of us involved.
Yeah, but that's what playtesters are for. It starts a fire somewhere else.
That's true. And then they get back to you and they're like, "Man, you won't believe the fire we had."
So I have some feedback.
Are you sitting down? But
well, this has been great, and I'm really glad that we could have you on.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, there, Chris. Much appreciated, and best of luck to you guys in all of your endeavors. I'm going to try and check you out more frequently, and I mean, it's all about the turn-based stuff. And I've heard you got some interesting podcasts coming up, so I'm definitely going to be making sure to take a listen into those, especially if there's any retro JRPG goodness coming. I'm all about that.
There's always retro JRPG goodness coming. That is goodness in its purest form. Well, you got, I guess that was final thoughts. I think we can wrap it up if you're good.
No, I'm good on my end.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. This has been the Turn by Turn podcast. Go support The Last Chronomancer on itch.io and on Twitter at Guld_TLC. I got it all right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.